What's up, everybody, and welcome to the NBA matchups breakdown here on DraftKings TV. I'm Socrdave, David Kitchen, and I am so pleased to be joined by these two fine gentlemen, Rob Perez. I've been a big fan of Rob's Twitter game for a while. He knows his NBA stuff, WorldWideWob. And then also Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins, you might know as the guy in all the commercials from the NBA games or the NBA contest last year, in which he pulled down a pretty sick prize. Andrew Wiggins goes by Makisupa on DraftKings, one of the high-stakes players. So, guys, NBA is finally here. Like, it's here.
It's Christmas morning, and between the three of us, we have 6 hours of collective sleep for a reason. NBA's back, baby. Get excited.
NBA is back. We have opening night. Tonight is kind of opening night, so we're recording this a little early, so we don't have salaries yet. We need to get that out in the open, but we do want to go through some of the off-season moves, what to expect, and just kind of it's not even November yet, so people probably don't have their NBA game face on. They're still in football mode, and that's what we're going to help. We're going to help get that NBA face on. We should touch on the contest tomorrow, though. $1 million contest, and it's going to be a pretty big contest. It's the return to the court, where $100,000 will go to first place. It's a $20 entry. It's going to be a big contest. So I'm anxious to see if it fills, and if so, I think that'd be great, Andrew.
Yeah, I really doubt it'll fill, so it should be a really good spot. I don't think they even had $1 million game last year, so to kick it off with a $20 buy-in, that's pretty exciting. I can't wait to play in it.
Yeah, I'll be making teams for a while tomorrow. As far as the storylines that we're looking forward to, Rob, I'll start with you. As far as what's something you're looking forward to this NBA season?
Well, first and foremost, the thing I'm looking forward to most is Andrew has a very special NBA name that I just kind of put two and two together. Andrew, are you the Andrew Wiggins of daily fantasy sports too?
Probably. Some people think I'm good. A lot of people think I'm terrible. So
you've got a lot of hype to live up to, right? You were rookie of the year. You pulled in that huge prize last season. You have to be a DFS All-Star within a year. Otherwise, your career is a disappointment. So that's first and foremost. The thing I'm looking forward to most in the upcoming NBA season is it's kind of weird actually, but I'm really excited for the Washington Wizards, and I wasn't until the preseason. And that's because Randy Whitman has instituted something called pace and space, and all this team does is run the floor. Finally, all fans across the NBA, whether you like the Wizards or not, have just wanted to see John Wall in a system that was designed for him. We finally got that. And now we get to see peak John Wall, the best John Wall of all the John Walls. And as NBA fans, I think I speak for all of us when I say that is a great thing.
Coast to coast John Wall. I would agree. It's a beautiful thing. Andrew, what are some of the storylines you're looking forward to this season?
Well, I'm a diehard Bulls fan. I felt like I had a really good feel for how Tibbs managed all the players and what was going to happen on a night-to-night basis, even if it wasn't always the best outcome. So I'm really interested to see how Hoiberg operates, and just feels like maybe entering into a new era for the Bulls, and they're going to be running more, a lot less defense. So that should be really good for Derrick Rose as far as getting some open driving lanes. I'm always excited to see him play. And then some of the elite players like Kevin Durant, hoping that he can get back to being 100% because he's a lot of fun to watch. And then the hype train is out of control on Anthony Davis for good reason. It'll be interesting to see if he really makes that next step like everyone expects him to.
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm looking forward to is LaMarcus Aldridge on the Spurs, just to see kind of what that team's going to look like, what the chemistry is going to be. They also added David West. They lost Splitter to the Hawks and Bellinelli to the Kings. So just the dynamic of the Spurs is always interesting because these Spurs, whether we like it or not, are a very important team in the NBA and in DFS because of old Popovich. And he sometimes can get a little wiry with his rotations and with sitting people. And so That's something that I think as the season progresses with Tim Duncan, I mean, I just want to see kind of how this team does. And adding LaMarcus Aldridge is a huge thing. For DFS, I want to see some of these terrible teams that have good players on there. And we've seen in the past, just if you're a terrible team, we still have a spot for you in daily fantasy because you've got guys like the Sixers the past couple of years, and I think you'll have the Blazers this upcoming year, Rob, where people like you're still going to get a lot of points from a few key people there.
Yeah, between the Sixers and Blazers, now even that Covington's injured, we're talking about like Jakar Sampson being the sleeper DFS pick for the first like 2 weeks of the season because they simply just don't have any talent there in Philadelphia. I think Isaiah Cannon is everyone's favorite dark horse pick, but the Blazers especially, CJ McCollum is going to be putting up like all-star numbers despite not obviously being an all-star. There is value across the board when it comes to these terrible teams. Al-Farouq Aminu is probably going to be in my lineup every single night because he's a small forward, and you can never pick a small forward, so it's an impossible position to pick. Aminu will have a monopoly on that position for me just because of usage. Like, what else are the Blazers going to put out there?
Yeah, AFA is always a good play when he's in that good spot. We've seen him in all the other teams. Like, it just seems like every year, no matter what team he's with, he's in a good spot when he gets those minutes. Minutes equal opportunity, Andrew, as I'm sure you know. We've talked about. So let's go ahead and start with this first game, Washington and Orlando. This was a game that had a lot of fantasy goodness last year. And Rob, you just talked about the tempo of this, so I'll go ahead and let you cover basically what you think of this game.
Yeah, so this game is all about the possessions. Orlando is fast to begin with because there are a bunch of young legs out there that probably don't play the best defense in the world. And now you've got the addition of what I alluded to before, Randy Whitman's pace and space. Watch this Washington Wizards team when they get a rebound on the defensive side, as opposed to John Wall running to Gortat or Nene to get a handoff. He's waiting at half court, and they're getting shots up within 6 to 8 seconds of possession, or at the very least, they have the ball in the front court, so they have 20 full seconds at their discretion, right? So in regards to individual players for this game, it's obvious. You got Wall, you got Beal, and you got Vucevic. Those are your studs. The sleepers, someone like an Otto Porter is going to be just running the floor for 40 minutes. This could be one of your minutes guys that is involved in a lot of possessions. And if there's anybody I'm really going to avoid, it's probably going to be Tobias Harris just because he's injured. He doesn't really put up stats across the board to begin with. And I'm probably avoiding Gortat as well just because of Vucevic on the floor. Gortat probably won't pull in the same amount of boards that he usually does. I sure left you a lot there, Andrew. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick note about the Magic is they do have a new coach, Scott Skiles, who's been one of those guys in the past that we've been a bit frustrated by, just doing different things on a night-to-night, jerking guys around with their minutes. He didn't have a good history with Tobias Harris when he was up in Milwaukee, so that's something to keep an eye on, although I do think Harris will play a lot of minutes this year. He's a much better player than he was a couple of years ago as a rookie. And Aaron Gordon's kind of the guy to look at as maybe breaking out. But again, I'm probably going to pump the brakes a little bit with the Magic until I have a better idea what Skiles is doing.
Yeah, as far as a Wiz, they lost Paul Pierce, and they added just like a bunch of black guys, Andrew. Like Dudley. Like Dudley was relevant for maybe half a season. Dudley, Allen Anderson, Gary Neal, maybe somebody else. But just yeah, I think those guys.
He's probably going to get a lot of open looks for three, so he could have some sneaky DFS value. But
don't you dare.
What about Hezonja? We haven't talked about Super Mario yet. Like, is this guy is he a DFS sleeper yet, or is he just a really good rookie that's going to get 18 minutes a game?
Well, I think the good thing with rookies for DFS is that you can kind of take that wait and see approach, and typically rookies are better towards the back half of the year. I'll probably mostly stay away from them except for maybe some tournament exposure early on and just figure out what exactly they're bringing to the table and how they're getting acclimated to the NBA.
All right, let's go to the next game, Boston and Philadelphia. I'll let you start with this, Rob, as well. I feel like you're a good guy to kind of get started on these games. You're bringing the fire already.
I know. I'm emotional this morning. Okay, so this Boston game, I have notes written, pre-show notes here, and I have for who are the studs for this game, and I wrote no one on Boston, and then players to avoid, and I wrote anyone on Boston. And that's because Brad Stevens coming out and saying that he's going to play 15 guys, 23 minutes each. He doesn't know if anyone on his team is ever going to play more than 30, 35 minutes. So from a DFS standpoint, Brad Stevens is on my blacklist. He is creating a Popovich situation for us DFSers because we don't know to start Sullinger, Olynyk, Isaiah Thomas, Marcus Smart. When you don't know where the minutes are coming from, that is just a doomsday situation. The only guy I have written down for this game is Noel. To Andrew's point before, I'm not willing to trust Okafor to put up elite power forward statistics just yet, but I know Noel's going to bring it, at least on the defensive side, and he sure as hell is going to be on the floor a lot. So Noel is really the only guy I'm looking here. And, of course, my boy Cannon, but he'll probably be priced when DraftKings prices come out. He'll be priced appropriately. They're not going to be fooled by Cannon being behind Tony Wharton anymore. So I don't know if he's so much a sleeper as he is just an obvious pick, which could be worse.
Yeah, you have on the 76ers squad. So I feel like the storylines in the offseason is, of course, Sullinger lost weight. Like everybody wants you to know that Sullinger lost weight this season. They did add.
I saw some tweets from Brewski, who's a really good guy, and he's saying this is the first time I've ever seen someone billed as losing 30 pounds, and he actually put on another 30 pounds.
And he grew an orange mohawk. He's got an orange, like, it's not a mohawk, it's like a brohawk. I don't know what the hell that thing is, but it's.
So Brad Stevens is like a good coach. When it comes to daily fantasy, sometimes he's not the best coach, though. And we saw with some of the rotations last year, it was a guessing game. It's something about the New England coaches and just trying to read their minds. It's brutal, but he is a good coach. They lost Brandon Bass and they gained David Lee and Amir Johnson. And so that's going to be fun, just seeing what their front court is going to look like. But you mentioned Noel. I think Okafor is another option here, as Jahlil Okafor, I should say. So another option where he could average a double-double this season, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. Now I'm interested to see how he impacts Nerlens. Nerlens was a beast at the end of the year, but he could steal some of those defensive stats. And also, those guys can't shoot, so it's going to be awfully crowded. It's going to hurt Isaiah Cannon a little bit, just not having any open lanes to get to the hole. So that's kind of a situation I'll be watching. But this game for Wednesday night, I think, is mostly an avoid for me. I want to see how the Boston rotation plays out. And like you said, with the front court, there's going to be some good plays there, but it'll probably be when there's some injuries and you know that the minutes are a little bit more assured.
All right, let's take a second before we go to the next game. I just mentioned the double-double. People that have not played NBA yet, you should know that you do get bonus points for a made three-point shot, for a double-double, and for a triple-double. So if you make a three, you get a 0.5 points. So that kind of puts a little bit of importance on those guys.
Nice segue into the next game.
Yeah, as far as the double-double, 1.5 points. So it doesn't matter. If it's points and assists, or maybe you get the Jason Kidd where you score single digit points, but you get double digit assists and rebounds. But a double double gets you 1.5 points, and then a triple double gets you 3 points. So those are the bonus points, and of course steals, blocks 2 points, turnovers minus 0.5 points, rebounds a point, 0.25, and assists 1.5. I think that's it. So that'll cover the scoring portion of today's show. Let's move on to the next game, and we've got Denver at Houston. Andrew, I'll let you start with this game.
Yeah, just a note on the scoring. You can tell a lot of scoring, so it's a lot of fun because the scores are just constantly going up all night. You're watching the scoreboard light up. One of my favorite things about NBA. As far as the Rockets, I think Terrence Jones was a guy that a lot of people were really high on going into last year. He ended up being plagued with injuries all year. I think this is the year where he's going to put it all together, stay healthy, have a great year. He's often a really good play in daily fantasy. Just seems like DraftKings would underprice him a lot. Josh Smith is gone. Matty Lunas is still banged up. So I think that there's a lot of opportunity there, and I'll be looking to him. And the other thing to look at there is the point guard situation. I think Ty Lawson was a great real-world pickup for them. I'm not entirely sure how to play out in fantasy. It sounds like there might be a decent timeshare there with Patrick Beverley. So you want to keep an eye on that. But that's another situation where maybe Beverley's had some injury history. If he gets banged up, I think Lawson could be a steal at times throughout the season. And for the Nuggets, I think that Gallinari is going to have a really nice year. He was turning on at the end of the season, hitting a lot of threes, which, as we just stated, is great for DK scoring. And maybe Fareed, who's the guy that's shown flashes and then he ends up not getting the minutes or playing poorly. Maybe this is the year that he finally gets the minutes and puts it all together for a full season.
Rob, what's your take on Dwight Howard?
Oh, you had to ask that, didn't you? Like, I cannot believe God wasted that ability to play basketball in such a wretched human being. And I have nothing against him personally. I'm sure he's a great guy in the community and everything. And Houston will come after me like they always do because I just don't like Dwight Howard. He should be the best player in the NBA every year. He's a 7'1" physical specimen that's like something that comes out of Terminator. Why is he not better? Why is he not dominant? It's mental with him. I don't know if it's because he doesn't want it or if he just can't get over I'm the best player in the NBA hump. That's the most frustrating part about Dwight Howard is he just has never and probably will never live up to his fullest potential. And that frustrates me just as a fan of the league because I want to see just great basketball played. He has potential to do it. He never will. I'm sorry to break that to you Rockets fans. For this specific game, real quick, it's the highest projected total. It is going to be the most amount of possessions. They will not stop running in this game. So I'm paying for Harden, whatever his price is. The Gallinaris, the Fareeds, the Arizas, they're going to be getting shots up, rebounds, all the above. In terms of sleepers, there's a guy on the Nuggets named Jokic, and he's going to be like this year's I don't know. He's going to be like Nurkic on the Nuggets. He's secretly going to put up double-doubles without anybody knowing. But, Andrew, you alluded to the point guard situation in Houston. I am a gigantic Patrick Beverley fan, and I still think he should start, maybe more so in the real world. That doesn't help us for DFS because Lawson is going to be irrelevant until Beverley's either hurt, gone, or benched, which is probably not going to happen. So stay away from Lawson in this game.
It is going to be interesting, though, because Lawson is going up against his old team in the first game of the season.
That's true. That's true.
So the revenge game narrative, though, only applies when you get the opportunity, and we don't know what his opportunity is going to be. So we won't. I will say, stay away from the revenge game from Lawson. Maybe you just target that whole Nuggets team. They got tired of all his
jacket.
All of the stuff that he put them through. All right, you've got a very good real-world game right here. We talk about real-world. As far as daily fantasy, I'm not so sure, but Spurs at OKC. I mean, this is a rivalry game. Rob?
I've got the same notes I talked about before. I wrote down Westbrook, and then players to avoid, everyone not named Westbrook. That includes Kevin Durant. Despite how good he is and how good he looked in the preseason, there is only one point guard that ever matters in daily fantasy sports, and that's if Russell Westbrook goes off on one of those Westbrook nights. Is that going to happen opening night versus San Antonio? No, he's probably not going to do his 40, 15, 10, and 5 game like he would versus the 76ers on a random Wednesday. But this game, like this season, is all about Westbrook for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Has he become the league's best point guard? Has he become the league's best player? By the way, they've got Kevin Durant. Andrew?
Yeah, I think you're forgetting about a guy named Steph Curry who I'll probably give him best point guard.
Hey, let's go one-on-one. I'll take Westbrook all day. Westbrook all day versus Steph. He'll kill him on defense.
So I was actually going to say that Westbrook is probably a guy to avoid for a bit because I'm assuming his price is going to be really elevated based on his production last year. And he's not the same guy from a fantasy production standpoint when Kevin Durant's on the floor. His usage drops considerably because Durant's out there taking a lot of shots. So he's going to be a great tournament play because he can go off any night, even with Durant on the court. But you got to be careful. He's going to be a little bit riskier than last year where you knew he had such a high floor, just handling the ball so much for that team. And on the Spurs side, we talked about a little bit with Aldridge coming in. I'll be interested to see how that impacts Duncan. I think his minutes will be down. In the preseason, Leonard's kind of been the story of taking on more of the offensive burden, and his usage is way up. So he could be like a top 5 season-long NBA player this year if he really is that involved as people think he will be. So I'm really interested to see how he does. And he's a guy I like playing a lot in DFS. He just always seems a little bit underpriced for his production.
David, is there anyone on the Spurs that, like, if they're playing their full team, that is like a guarantee? I guess it depends on Kawhi's price because he's in that small forward spot. But with the Spurs, there's no, like, I can put him in my lineup and feel safe type player with these guys.
Well, on opening night, yeah. I mean, I don't think we know what to expect. I'll be anxious to see though what happens with LaMarcus Aldridge. Like how much are they going to play him? And some of this stuff, as far as both these teams, will come down to price, like what you feel comfortable in spending. And sometimes with the matchup algorithm that DraftKings uses, sometimes they'll place guys' salaries a little lower than what you think. So without seeing salaries, I'll probably stay away from this game, but there are no doubt some superstars, and it's going to be at least an entertaining game to watch. So for a GPP side, you could definitely pick one of many options in this game.
Well, that's kind of the thing with the Spurs. The NBA, really the most important thing is trying to figure out the minutes people are playing, when they're going to be on the court, because that's going to lead to production. And the problem with the Spurs on a night-to-night basis is it's really difficult to peg who's going to be out there. And you might think one guy's going to get a lot of minutes and then he just hardly plays. And so for your 50-50 games and your heads-up games, you don't want that uncertainty. So they're a team that generally you want to avoid in those spots. And then in tournaments, you can play them because they have a lot of guys that produce when they're out there. So if it happens to be a game where they get a lot of minutes, they can put up huge numbers, and people tend to shy away from them in general. So that makes them really good targets in the tournament games.
Yeah, Spurs are best when it's mid-season and people are sitting out. Like that's when the best time to use them. All right, we got 3 games and a little under 8 minutes to get them through. So let's go through quickly. You've got the Pelicans at Portland, and the Pelicans are playing tonight as well. So it's the second game of the back-to-back, but probably not a big thing. We know that Anthony Davis is just going to eat. So let's just put that out there. He's going to eat. You need to put him in your lineup regardless of what he costs, most likely. I want to know, though, about the backcourt situation, what you think, Andrew, as far as this Pelican squad.
Yeah, this is the spot to watch, and it's kind of nice that we get to see how it plays out tonight. Tyreek Evans is hurt, and Drew Holiday is on a minute limit of 15 or 20 minutes. So they have Nate Robinson, and they signed Ish Smith yesterday. So we're not sure if he's going to be involved tonight. Probably not much, but maybe they'll be getting him up to speed or play more minutes tomorrow. So it's a little bit of a tricky spot. I think Nate Robinson's a really good play tonight, but I'll be very interested to see how many minutes he plays, how involved he is. And then they have some injuries to the big men as well. Ashik and Ajinka are both out tonight. I think Ashik could possibly play tomorrow. Ajinka's out for a while. So that's going to open up some minutes. I don't think you want to consider Kendrick Perkins, but maybe if you're feeling frisky, and really the guy I think that helps most is Ryan Anderson. But again, watch what happens tonight and try and adjust for the games tomorrow, because at least you'll have some information to go off of.
On the other side.
No. Yeah, I was going to piggyback on the Pelicans real quick, because they're a really important team to talk about. All DFS players, especially DFS players, in addition to the fans, have been just poisoned by what Monty Williams did to this squad last year. Slow play, give Tyreek the ball in an ISO with the game on the line. Did he realize Anthony Davis plays on this team? if you watch these guys in the preseason or have ever seen an Alvin Gentry coach team, look at the Warriors last year because he designed the offense. This squad is going to explode in terms of offensive productivity. Oh, by the way, Anthony Davis plays on that team. So look for Gentry ball to become the new D'Antoni ball or even the pace and space in Washington. Pelicans are going to be one of the best league pass teams to watch simply for that reason.
Yeah, should be a fun game. On the opposite side, you've got Lillard that is just going to go nuts this year. He's just going to go nuts. I mean, he's going to put up so many shots. And the great thing about DraftKings is that you don't get points for missed shots, like in some of the sites back in the old days of DFS. So no points for missed shots. He's just going to, who knows? Yeah,
he's going to chuck. Him and McCollum are just going to chuck.
Yeah, this is his team, so he's going to do whatever it takes. All right, Clippers at Kings. This is going to be a fun game, Andrew.
Yeah, this guy is probably my favorite guy to play in daily fantasy, and that's Boogie Cousins. He's just he's a force, man. And the way he closed out last season, just triple doubling every night, it was fun to watch. Now, this is a matchup where I probably won't be playing him going up against DeAndre Jordan. It's a lot of size. I don't love that, but I'll certainly consider him. Rudy Gay, kind of along the lines of what you were saying with Damian Lillard, is something to keep in mind if you're moving from season-long to daily fantasy, is that efficiency doesn't really matter. So some of these high-volume guys, they go up in value. Kobe Bryant is another one who was shooting 35% last year, but you don't really care. You just want him taking the shots because that's what gets you points. So something to keep in mind. Look at those low-efficiency guys that are high-volume, and they're usually going to be much better plays in daily fantasy.
Yeah. Rob?
This game, from a daily fantasy standpoint, complete stay away from me, mainly because of the matchups. You just talked about Boogie and DeAndre are going to be guarding each other, and you can argue all you want. Are they good at defense or are they not? The fact is, like, Boogie's going to have to put up Boogie stats against DeAndre, which I just don't think he can do, and vice versa. DeAndre usually rakes rebounds regardless of who's guarding him, but again, it's Boogie. And then in the backcourt, you've got Chris Paul against Rondo, who are two very elite defenders. And even when Rondo's off the court, Darren Collison's going to come in, and he was Chris Paul's understudy for all those years in Los Angeles, or at least that one season. And I don't see these top tier players living up to their potential just because of how much defense I think is going to be played in this game. I think it's going to look like a playoff game.
Yeah, you failed to mention Blake Griffin, though.
Yeah, Blake Griffin's probably the one guy that has a favorable matchup that I would consider putting in my lineup because someone's got to get stats in this game, despite it probably being a low total score. It's going to be Blake Griffin. Like, who's guarding him? Not Boogie, so.
All right. Well, I mean, that's going to be an interesting spot tomorrow as far as the development of Boogie Cousins. Like, is he matchup proof? And it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. I know Andrew's answer to that question, though.
He's pretty close to matchup proof.
I wanted to paint you in a corner there. All right, last game, the T-Wolves at Lakers and Andrew Wiggins. Since your name is Andrew Wiggins and you've got at Andrew Wiggins on Twitter, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, he was another guy that if you had him in the season long, he wasn't that great. I think he finished around like 125th overall or so. But in daily fantasy, he was quite a bit better. He was playing over 40 minutes a game and just taking a boatload of shots. Now, there were a lot of injuries. They were playing a tight rotation, which they're healthier now. I don't think he'll be playing 40 minutes a game, but probably mid-30s, which the way the NBA is trending, everyone's playing less minutes. He'll be near the lead in the whole league. So I think he'll continue to be a good player at a position that's difficult to fill, small forward. And the Lakers, they've got some changes. Kobe's back. He was taking a million shots before he got hurt last year. I expect him to do the same. Julius Randle is healthy. And, of course, they drafted D'Angelo Russell, which is a little bit of a buzzkill if you're a Jordan Clarkson fan like myself. So that'll be kind of a situation to monitor. Another team that I'm probably going to stay away until we get to see a few games and what they're doing out there.
Yeah. On the T-Wolves side, you've got Karl Anthony Towns, and you also had the the sudden passing of Flip Saunders just kind of out of the blue right before the game starts. So, Rob, your thoughts on this game?
Well, you mentioned the Flip Saunders thing. I think the Wolves are going to come out and play with emotion, which is something they haven't done in a long time. There's going to be little defense played in this game other than Karl Anthony Towns. The Lakers certainly don't contribute on that end. If I'm playing anyone from a daily fantasy perspective, it's only going to be Ricky Rubio because, like Andrew said, Jordan Clarkson not being on the floor, the full quartet of minutes that he deserves. D'Angelo Russell's not that type of defender. Expect Rubio to come back emotional and put up big Rubio numbers because the Wolves will certainly be looking for a win. You can look at Towns all you want, but just like Andrew, I'm scared of rookies. So for me, Rubio is the only way to look in this game. The Lakers have too many chefs in the kitchen between Lou Williams and Swaggy P and Kobe. Put 10 balls on the floor. Wouldn't be enough. Stay away from the Lakers. Do yourself a favor. Ricky Rubio.
Hibbert, Meta World Peace. No more Jeremy Lin. But so, yeah. I mean, you've got – and this Lakers squad's going definitely to be interesting. I like Russell for season long, but I kind of want to see what – like with these rookies, we mentioned Karl Anthony Towns. Like I want to see what the rotations are, and that's why the opening night is always a little bit interesting, seeing kind of what those guys are going to be. So still these late night games, the West Coast games are the fun games. It's the games that you get to like follow and sweat. And Andrew's talking about the scoring NBA is unlike anything other for daily fantasy. So if you're coming from a football background, just know that you'll get hooked into NBA. It's just like, it's not even an option. You're going to get hooked in the NBA because of the amount of scoring, and you're following every point, every rebound. You're looking for the bonuses. So sure is going to be fun. I've got goosebumps and a DFS chub thinking about it. So I am Socrdave, David Kitchen. Really appreciate WorldWideWob, Rob Perez.
Thanks for having me.
I don't want to mess up your Twitter handle, so go ahead and give that out.
World_wide_wob. Someone took WorldWideWob, had the same World Wide West idea that I had. So that's it. World_wide_wob. Thanks for having me.
And then you've got Andrew Wiggins. You can just reach him at Andrew Wiggins. Real original Andrew. Makisupa on the DFS site. So guys, thanks for joining us. It's going to be a fun season. And if you haven't already played NBA, go ahead and just play like a free roll if you want to, or maybe just one $20 game and have your shot at $100K tomorrow. Who knows? You might get it. So on behalf of the other guys, I'm Socrdave. We'll see you next time.